So in the last two lectures, 12 and 13, I will attempt to state and prove what are known as Cohen structure theorem for complete local rings. So that means we are going to classify all complete local rings. And the first, these theorems are proved by Erwin Cohen. You see, 1917 to 1955, in his PhD thesis in 1942 at Johns Hopkins under the supervision of Oscar Zariski. And it is published. I have written the reference here. Those who want to see, they can see it. That is 1946 in print. Cohen on the structure and ideal theory of complete local rings. Transaction of Math Society, 59 volume. It's a long paper and it contains a lot of material. Cohen, later he joined MIT and known for many things. You have been studying Cohen-Macaulay rings. Today, Cohen structure theorem, then Cohen-Seidelberg theorems already in integral extensions. Then also Cohen rings, we will do it in the next lecture. Cohen died very unexpectedly in 1955, apparently from suicide. He was highly critical about himself and others, and he did suicide because he thought that he is not productive. So now first I am going to make the formulate the statement very precisely. That will help us to prove it in a better way. So first, I am going to skip some trivial things which you might be familiar. For example, characteristic of a ring. I have written something here in my way. So characteristic of a ring is the unique natural number which generate the kernel of the unique ring homomorphism from Z to A. If A is any ring, there is a unique ring homomorphism from Z to A. And look at its kernel. If I choose a natural number as a generator, it will be unique. And that is the characteristic. So this definition is better for many purposes. You will realize it. But I'm going to skip these 2 pages. So I already wrote, we have, I mentioned it in earlier lecture, that if you have a local ring, then there are 4 cases which which compares the characteristic of the residue field and the characteristic of the ring. So either both are 0 or both are P, or if the residue field has characteristic P, then the ring can have characteristic 0 or P power n, where n is, I should have written here n bigger equal to 2 because that is gone in the earlier case. So this is n is bigger equal to 2. All right, so these are the 4 cases, and we are going to divide the statements in 2 theorems. One will deal with what is so-called equicharacteristic case. That means residue field and local ring have the same characteristic. And other cases, the characteristics are not equal. One is 0, other is P. Residue field has characteristic P always in these cases. And a ring can have characteristic 0 and P power n. And first note that all these cases do occur. For example, in the last case, Z localized at P, where P is a non-zero prime. Then the ring has characteristic 0, but the residue field is Z mod P, whose characteristic is P. And the one before that is also possible because you could simply take Z mod P power n. This is also local ring and the characteristic is P power n, but The residue field is Z mod P, characteristic is P. And the other cases are more simpler. Equicharacteristic case is easier, relatively easier. And these rings usually occur in algebraic geometry. So that is what I mentioned here down. In equicharacteristic case, how to decide, that is if and only if contains a field, then it is equicharacteristic. That is obvious. Some of the sentences which I wrote without proof, they are left for you to check. And since I left them without any comment, they should be easy to check. Another comment I want to make before I go on, I will not keep saying Noetherian. It is assumed that all my rings are Noetherian. So don't worry about it. Sometimes I have written, but I am not uniform in that. I am not watched uniformly. But my right strategy is all my rings are Noetherian. All right. Now I'm making a definition. This is a definition of a coefficient ring. See, we want to prove that complete local rings are residue class rings of the power series ring, infinitely many variables. But where are the coefficients? That we have to specify. So that is why this coefficient ring definition is coming up. A subring R of A is called a coefficient ring of A if R is a complete local ring and the inclusion map is a local homomorphism. Local homomorphism. The inclusion map is a local homomorphism which induces isomorphism on the residue fields. And third one is the maximal ideal of MR of R is principal, where P is a characteristic. So immediate observation is if P were 0, then this ring has to be a field because maximal ideal is 0. It's a local ring. So if the coefficient ring is a field, then it is called a coefficient field. So I have in this lemma following, I have made immediate observation. So for example, if R is a coefficient ring of A, then R is complete local ring of dimension at most 1 because the maximal ideal is principal. Furthermore, if A is equicharacteristic, then R has to be a field. Because in equicharacteristic case, either characteristics are 0 or P. If it is P, then by this C, is P the characteristic, so it is 0. So therefore, it is a field in that case too. Second observation is, if A is inequicharacteristic, in equicharacteristic case, residue field always have characteristic P, positive. So characteristic of A can be 0 or P power n for n at least 2. So the K in the observation 2, A is inequicharacteristic and characteristic is 0. Then R is complete DVR with a regular parameter P. Now, all these words by now you are very well familiar with. DVR, regular parameter, etc. So I will not, on my own, I will not explain, but if somebody want to ask, I will answer them. So third one is, if A is inequicharacteristic and characteristic is P power n is at least 2, then R is complete and Artinian local because the maximal ideal by the C is principal and that is nilpotent. Therefore, the R will be Artinian local and Artinian local rings are complete. That was one of the exercise. That is why I wrote this in a bracket. All right. So this, I am not going to prove this. So that's why I left it empty here so that I will write it later. All right. So now the first theorem, that is in case of equicharacteristic. And as you know, I have abbreviated CST, coherent structure theorem. Coherent structure theorem in equicharacteristic case. So what is it? So let A may be a equicharacteristic. Equicharacteristic, this spelling is missing here. It is wrong. So one should correct it. All right. Equicharacteristic complete local ring of dimension D. Then there exists a subfield K of A such that K is the coefficient. That means the coefficient will exist. Second, there exists a K algebra isomorphism from, I will define when we will prove it, we will see I will define it from the power series ring to A, and we will prove that map is surjective and this A will be the kernel. So therefore, second says that A as a K algebra isomorphic to the residue class ring of a power series ring over a coefficient field in finitely many variables. Third one, if A is regular, then A is isomorphic to the power series ring over field K in D variables, because this D is the dimension. And we know that power series ring over a field in D variables is a regular of dimension D. Yes. Fourth one is like normalization level. So that is, there exists a subring B, which is a power series ring over a field, coefficient field in D variables, such that the inclusion homomorphism is a local homomorphism and A is a finite number. So these are the statements we are going to prove, and you will see the major step is to prove one, that is K is the coefficient field of A. So is it okay? Shall I go on? Or anybody has any question? Yes? Nobody want to answer? Okay, fine.
I have some question.
Please.
In number 2, if A is isomorphic to K power series x1, x2, xn local, mod A, it's not localized. Oh, sorry.
Mod
I made a mistake. I thought otherwise every local ring is regular, so that would be...
No. It's mod A. I said it, I will define a map from the power series to this, and these are n variables.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
All right. Anything else? All right. So now inequicharacteristic case. As you say, inequicharacteristic case is much more harder to prove. So again, A is a complete local inequicharacteristic ring of dimension D, and P is the characteristic of the residue field. Characteristic is always P in this case, P positive. So P is fixed. So then there exists a subring R and a complete DVR W with regular parameter P, such that R is a coefficient ring of it. Second, either R is isomorphic to W or R is isomorphic to W mod P power M W, where M is at least 2. Third one, A is isomorphic to a residue class ring of a power series ring with coefficients in that W mod the ideal A. Fourth one, if A is regular and unramified means that P is not in M square, that is unramified. That is the definition. And then A is isomorphic to the power series ring in D-1 variables over this W. But W is one-dimensional, it's a DVR. So therefore, if this is correct, D has to be correct dimension. The fifth one, if A is regular and ramified means P is in M square. Then A is isomorphic to power series ring or W in D variables mod a principal head. And the ring, power series ring over W, x1 to xd, this is unramified for some, this is for some F in the power series. Now, a couple of remarks here. First of all, do you have any problem with the statements? Again, when we start proving, we will have to recall again and again. You have to make these statements more and more This one. So first of all, this R is a coefficient ring. That is also a major step. And you will see the proofs of the remaining 3, 4, 5 are similar in nature. Not exactly similar, but similar in nature. Another one is this complete DVR I denoted by W. Little strange. But that is with a lot of thinking I did that, because this W, this thing has, of course, in these lectures you will not see that, but this thing has connections with the wheat rings. That is why this notation W comes from there. All right, more than that I will not say. Now, anybody has any questions? Still I will pause, because these are very important theorems and the proofs are not easily available in many references.
What is F in the last statement?
It's some principal idea.
Some
yes.
Principal idea.
Some power series in D variables with coefficients in W.
It's some power series, so that this becomes an integral domain and so and so.
Of course, yes.
Yes. Okay.
So A is this the W x1 to xd mod a principal idea. That is the statement. Some F. So also see the dimension matches W at dimension 1, and this is dimension D plus 1 mod 1 equation. So what I should have said here non-zero. So and then this upper ring becomes unramified. See, this is the advantage, because your original ring may have, it's regular, but still it may be ramified. But when you apply it, you may change it to this quotient. The regularness will remain and the top ring will become unramified. So this is useful in some applications. All right, shall I go on? All right, so now immediate consequence is used. One more statement is remaining here, that is 6, that is normalization limit. That is, if A is integral domain, then there exists a subring B, which is a power series ring over W in D minus 1 variable, such that the inclusion map is local homomorphism and A is a finite view. But this is true for integral domain only. You will see the later I will give examples. So when A is not integral domain, this is false. All right. So immediate most important corollary which is used in many applications, and as JKV keeps saying that this is used it many times. So what is the corollary? Every complete local ring is a residue class ring of a complete regular local. And second one is every complete local ring is a finite integral extension of a complete regular local. This is normalization. So these corollaries are immediate from these theorems, because in each equicharacteristic and inequicharacteristic case, both these are approved. All right. So now I will prepare for proving equicharacteristic case. And the proof I am going to give is not, I have not seen it in any printed book. So you have to be very careful in watching so that I don't make any mistake. All right. So now, before I go on the proofs, I wanted to make some remarks. How did this originate? What made Cohen to prove these theorems? So Krull already conjectured in, this was in 1938, this 12.A.4, that is every equicharacteristic complete regular local ring of dimension D is actually a formal power series ring over a field, over a coefficient field of A. So he conjectured it, but he didn't prove it. He also conjectured that every unique characteristic complete regular local ring which is unramified is uniquely determined by the residue field and its dimension. But he didn't have this precise statement. So this precise statement he didn't have. All right. Another remark is Krull finally conjectured that this one, corollary one, every complete local ring is a residual class ring of a complete regular local ring. And why did Krull came to this thing? Because Krull was the one who started a study of local study of algebraic varieties at a point. And then he considered local rings, and then he has to complete it to get more finer information about, so the neighborhoods are being enlarged more in the completion. All these comments are very important for motivation, I think. All right. Now, I'm going to prove equicharacteristic case first, and that will depend on Hensel's lemma. And as a consequence of Hensel's lemma, I am going to deduce the existence of the coefficient field. You will see how. It is very, very simple. This proof is completely self-contained and it doesn't require high-powered machinery. But this is only one case in the equicharacteristic case, namely, this I am trying to prove one. So you see here, there are two cases now. There are two cases here in equicharacteristic case. Either characteristic is 0 or characteristic is, the residue field characteristic is 0 or P. So in case of characteristic 0, it will be a proof by that Hensel's lemma. And characteristic P, we have to do little bit more work that involves some field theory. So the equicharacteristic case, existence of a coefficient field is not too difficult, but involved. And characteristic in equicharacteristic case is much more difficult. So, all right. So let us start with Hensel's lemma. Hensel's lemma that now onward our notation will be A, MA is the complete local ring, K suffix capital A is the residue field of A, and this pi is the residue class map, and pi is the extension of this residue class map to the polynomial case that you are mapping the coefficients to the residue classes. All right, now Hensel's lemma, and I am going to state in more general form. So what is the Hensel's lemma? Suppose you have a polynomial A with coefficients in A, monic polynomial, and suppose the residue class of F mod MA. That means its image in this K polynomial X. So because this is a PID, it will therefore UFD, therefore it will be product of, it will have a prime factorization. And that is what I have written. Pi F is G1 power N1, GR power NR. This is a prime factorization in KX. So into distinct monic irreducible factors, and these NIs are positive natural numbers. So that makes sense. Then what? Then there exists uniquely determined G1 to GR, which are coming from the polynomial with coefficients in A, so that when I take their images in KX, they are the GI power N. And F is the product. That is Hensel's lemma. That means power of the prime factors, distinct prime factors, we can lift it to A. This is what it means. Is that okay? If anybody has any question, please interrupt me. So before I go on to the proof of this, I will just read the corollary. That is the classical Hensel's lemma. See here. With the notation as in B, it will be 1. If F bar has a simple 0, then I can lift that 0 to the ring A. So that means I can find A so that A bar is alpha and F of A is 0. So this is the standard Hensel's lemma you will find in most of the textbooks. All right. So this immediately follows from here, as I wrote, because this x minus alpha is a factor of f bar, but the square is not a factor because it's a simple factor, and therefore I can lift this x minus alpha factor to up to the ring A, and that will give us what we want. All right, now, so let us do Hensel's lemma. This is what will happen usually, that when I am trying to do something, both the lectures, this is going to happen often. Whatever I am going to prove, I will state something and maybe prove that first and then come back to resume to the proof of this. Otherwise, one doesn't keep track where is used what. That is why this strategy, I find it better. But some of you may have problems, so please ask if something is not clear. Okay, so what is the lemma I want to prove first? If you have a semi-local ring and MA is the Jacobson radical, then and the maximal spectrum is M1 to MR, and A cap denote the M-adic completion of A, then there is a canonical isomorphism between the A completion and the products of A localized at MI completions. In particular, every complete semi-local ring is a finite direct product of complete local rings. These are complete local rings. Proof is very simple. So let us finish off the proof. By Chinese-Remende theorem, we have, if I raise this Jacobson radical to the power n, then because these are the co-maximal and so on, so it is isomorphic to this product. And therefore, and also we have these, all these maps are natural. So you will have a commutative square like this, where pi n's are residue class maps. These are product of the residue class maps, are the canonical residue class homomorphism. And then now look at A cap. A cap is the inverse limit. And that inverse limit compute, and that will be the product of these inverse limits, and the inverse limits of the localization, completion of the localization. That's very simple. So that proves this lemma. So thing to remember is every complete semi-local ring is a finite direct product of complete local rings. One immediate corollary I want to write in this: if you have a complete local ring and B is a finite A algebra, then B is the finite direct product of its localization. First of all, B is a finite algebra, therefore B will be semi-local because it's integral over a local ring. Therefore, it will have only finitely many maximal ideals lying. So, maximal spectrum of B is finite, and this makes sense, finite. So, see, G is a finite A module, and A is Noetherian, suppose I am assuming, and B is a M-adic complete, and hence also M-adically complete, MA-adic complete, and therefore this extension also, this is extension ideal. So these topologies are same, that you have to check, because you see, because the powers, it's very simple. In particular, the extended maximal ideal from below is contained in MB. This follows directly from the fact that B is a finite A model. On the other hand, this is a finite over the field, and therefore the length is finite. And how to get rid of this? The length is finite, and therefore length of this is also finite, and therefore B is semi-local, and the powers of the maximal, the Jacobson radical is contained in this extension. Altogether, what we have proved is MA-adic and MB-adic topologies on B coincide because the filtrations are equivalent. Therefore, B is MB-adic complete, and hence we are done. So in the lemma, we have, as I said, in the lemma, thing to remember is every complete semi-local ring is a finite direct product of complete local rings. Corollary even says better, if you have a complete local ring, then and be the finite algebra over that, that is also finite direct product of localization. It's localization. All right. So now let us go on. So recall that if A is a non-zero ring and if it is a polynomial, monic polynomial of degree f is n, then the residue class algebra, this is free of rank n. This we have used 100 times at least. And 1 small x power n minus 1 is a basis of this residue class algebra. This is because you can perform the division with monic polynomials and get the quotient and remainder. They are unique, and that is the consequence. This residue class algebra is free of rank equal to D. I am going to prove the converse of this. So what is the converse? A is a ring, B is a finite free cyclic algebra of rank n, generated by one element. Cyclic free means generated as an algebra by one element and it is finite. That means B equal to A square bracket x. Then there exists a unique polynomial f of degree n such that Ax mod f is isomorphic to B as A algebras. This is very important lemma, the converse. And this is what I will use it in the proof of Hensel's law. Shall we go on to prove? Anybody has any doubt in this? All right. Moreover, furthermore, if M is a maximal ideal in A and if X bar is M by MB, if the residue class in the mod MB, is M is a maximal ideal A. So A was arbitrary ring here, arbitrary commutative. Now, if M is a maximal ideal there and X bar is the image of X in M by MB and F bar is the image mod M, this is a polynomial ring over a field now. So F bar is a polynomial ring, F bar is a polynomial over a field, monic will remain, degree will also remain. So what is the statement? So these are F bar notation I explained in the next sentence. Then F bar is actually a minimal monic polynomial of this X bar over A by M. That is the statement. So that happens for every maximal ideal. See, not only this F. So F is given, F is you have to find out unique monic polynomial. And this F, when you go mod arbitrary maximal ideal, it is the minimal monic polynomial of that X bar. That is this more version. You see, proof is very not so difficult. All right, first, I will prove that this is a basis. 1x x power n minus 1 is the basis of B over A. Remember, we merely have a statement that this is a cyclic algebra of which is free of rank n generated by this X as an algebra. That doesn't mean that this is a basis. We only know that there is some basis of cardinality n. One doesn't know, for example, 1 is in the basis, right? And these are not obvious facts. So, in fact, it is not true. In one can give examples so that this is not true that if you have a free algebra over a ring, then one may not be basis. One may not be part of the basis in general. But in this situation, yes. So I am going to prove first is 1x x power n minus 1 is the basis of B over A. So to prove this, it is equivalent to proving the map psi there is a natural map psi from A power n to B. The standard basis is going to x power a I minus 1. This is an isomorphism of A box, where E1 to En is a standard basis of A power n. Once you prove this, once it is an isomorphism, image of a basis is basis. Therefore, this star will follow. One should think much more easier than making the complicated statements. All right, so how do you put star? How do you prove star? I want to prove the star is an isomorphism. It's from this free module to this B. B is also free algebra. And I want to prove this is a isomorphism. So if you want to prove some module M to N, it's an isomorphism, it is enough to prove that locally it is isomorphism. That means for every maximal ideal, localization of psi at M are the isomorphisms. This is what we have to prove. All right. So start with any maximal ideal, fix it, and read X mod MB, that is X bar. This is a residue class of X. And I am going to prove that more over part also simultaneously. That is what is written like that. So take any M, read this X mod MB, and now it's over a field now. This X bar is an element over, so this ring B by MB is a free module over A by M, which is a field. This is a Bayes change. So therefore, minimal polynomial of X bar over A by M makes sense. That I am calling it G. And that G is a polynomial with coefficients in A by M. And degree is suppose R. We don't know what is the degree. So I just called it R. And because B is generated by X as an algebra, B by MB will be generated over A by M as X bar. By X bar as an algebra. So that means this B by MB is a quotient of a polynomial algebra. And because we are over a field, the kernel will be a principal ideal. That is that G. So that is the definition of a minimal polynomial. And monic. Monic, therefore, unique. So now, 1 x bar power r minus 1, this is a by m vector space basis of this B by MB. Because we are in a field case and G has degree R, therefore this is correct. This is one hand. On the other hand, what was B by MB? That is A by M tensor B, that is A by M tensor A power n, because B is isomorphic to B is a free module of rank n, therefore it is like this. This is as a module, no? So this is A by M power n. Therefore, B by MB is a vector space of dimension n, therefore R has to be n. And 1 x bar x power n minus 1 is the A by M basis of B by M. So we have achieved that modulo that M, 1 x bar x power n minus 1 is the basis. Now we are in a local case. So you go to localization, B by M, B by B localized at M. And because when you go mod M, you will get this ring, and there we know this is a basis. So therefore, this one is a localized at M basis of B localized at M, because bars is a basis. This is Nakamura. And therefore, we proved that psi localized at M is an isomorphism of elements. So we proved that psi, we proved this claim psi. Psi is an isomorphism, therefore we know this is a basis. Is it okay, or shall I wait for a minute? Honestly, is it okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, fine. So now look at the next power of x, that is x power n. And because we have already proved 1x, x power n minus 1 is the basis, this x power n is a linear combination of these powers with coefficients in it. And therefore, these coefficients are unique because we already know it is the basis. And now catch hold of that f, which is x power n minus, so you get a monic polynomial of degree n. That is what we are looking for. And this monic polynomial, when I substitute capital X equal to small x, it becomes. So that means it is in the kernel of the substitution homomorphism epsilon x. This is a substitution homomorphism, which is an algebra homomorphism, which is surjective. And hence, we have a diagram, commutative diagram of A algebra homomorphisms from A polynomial x to B A small x, and to go to this pi. This f is in the kernel. Therefore, this epsilon x map will factor through this quotient algebra. And now look at this B and this Ax mod f. Both are free of rank n. Both these modules are free of rank n. Then what happens? Then, because both are free, this will have splitting. Therefore, A power n, kernel of epsilon x prime direct sum A power n is equal to A power n as A module. See this, where is it? This earlier. Yeah. See, these both are free, and this map is surjective. Therefore, this is also surjective. Therefore, this has to split. This is free, the projective module. So split. Therefore, the kernel will be, and the complement will be the kernel of this. Therefore, this has A modules. But you see, both have the same rank, and A is a non-zero ring. Therefore, you can conclude that epsilon x prime is 0. So we have proved up to here that this map splits, and therefore this kernel of this epsilon prime x, this is 0. That we have concluded, right? That is because this is a free module split. Anyway, I have written the more elaborated explanation here. So that proves that the kernel of epsilon x is actually generated by f, because we have concluded that this map has a kernel 0. Therefore, kernel has to be generated by this f. This is the kernel of this epsilon x. And this residue class ring is isomorphic to B. Further, for any maximal ideal M of A, f bar x bar is 0 in B by MB, and f bar, this is a monic polynomial of x. This is a basis, and therefore, because this is a basis, this is a monic, and degree is correct, and this x bar is a 0. Therefore, it has to be the minimal monic polynomial of x bar over A by M. So that proves the whole lemma. Lemma is interesting in its own right, because what we proved is if you have a cyclic free algebra, then it has to be a quotient of a polynomial algebra by a monic polynomial. All right. Once we have proved that by corollary, now this is A was local, and this B is now finite free. So therefore, it's finite. B is a semi-local. Therefore, it is a finite direct product of local algebras, and those local algebras are precisely the localization of B at the maximal ideals. And this extended Jacobson radical is contained in the Jacobson radical of B. And the maximal ideal then they correspond to the maximal ideals of, when you go mod, this local maximal ideal of the local ring. And then in this has to be because of this, it has to be the image of f under pi. And this one, pi f, we know it factors like that. It's a prime factorization. Therefore, this is again by Chinese remainder if you like. This is the residue field. This is mod, this gi power ni, and these bi's which are b localized at ni. They are the local direct factors corresponding to each one of them. See here, these factors, when you go mod, we know the factors. So these will correspond to each other. So therefore, this local ring is a factor of this B corresponding to this factor. And this pi I map is from B to Bi. This is a canonical projection. And that means this Bi is generated, Bi is corresponding to this. So when you go, Bi is generated over A by pi ix. So this Bi is a direct summand of a free A module B, and hence it is a projective module. Each Bi is a free module since A is local. And rank of Bi equal to then because it's a free module, the rank equal to the minimal number of generators mod the maximal ideal, we are over a local ring. And that minimal number of generators, because this Bi is corresponding to that, that is minimal number of generators as a K vector space of this, which is the degree of Gi. It's very simple. There is no high-powered machinery used, just a standard commutative algebra where you have to use somewhere the projective modules, free modules are projective module, and therefore over a local ring. Local ring, free modules are projective. That's what we have. So therefore, further by lemma B12B5 applied to this Bi now, it follows that the kernel of the substitution homomorphism Ax to Bi, this is generated by the monic polynomial. That's what we checked in that lemma. This lemma, we have precisely checked that if it's a free module, then it is generated by the principal ideal. That is what we are using it to this situation, to Bi. We are applied to Bi. Bi is also local. So, therefore, there is a monic polynomial Gi, capital Gi, so that the image of capital Gi under that pi map is Gi power ni. Therefore, this product belongs to the kernel of the substitution homomorphism, and F divides that because F is a generator of the kernel, but both have the same degree and both are monic. See, here I have checked both have same degree and both are monic, therefore they have to be equal. So this completes the proof of Hensel's lemma. Now again, I will wait for response if you want to ask something. It is unfortunate that the video went away, but what can I do?
Sir,
yes.
If you could go to the monic part of F.
What do you want to do? That monic lemma part?
Yes. F this is monic.
This one?
F is monic. Yes. Yeah.
Where?
Sir, here F bar is monic. So how does that mean that F is monic?
No. See, wait. What was F? F we already have chosen.
Okay, sorry.
F you already chosen from this equation, no? So F is already monic.
Yeah, I missed.
See, there, what your question here is, I am actually trying to prove that this F bar is nothing but the minimal polynomial.
Yes.
And how did we prove that? First of all, this F bar is monic. This X bar is a zero of that F bar, and the degree is correct. Therefore, it has to be the minimal polynomial. Right?
Yes, sir.
See, if you have a polynomial over a field which is monic and the degree is equal to the field extension degree, then it has to be the minimal polynomial, no?
Yeah, sir, fine.
Anything else? This is very simple lemma actually. Maybe it's because our link has gone because of this video and this problem. I have to check before I come tomorrow to this problem. All right, so can I go on now? Therefore, it will be approved Ensel's lemma. And remember, Ensel's lemma is what? Ensel's lemma is you can lift the prime power factors. If you have a polynomial over it, and where, by the way, where did we use completion? Can somebody point out where did I use completion in this? Because you see, Ensel's lemma, the statement is, where is Ensel's lemma? Earlier. See here, it's a complete local ring. Where can somebody point out where I use completeness? Yes, please. You want to answer or can I go on? We have used completeness where we have used this lemma 12b3, that every complete semi-local ring is a finite direct product of complete local rings. This is not true for arbitrary local ring, arbitrary semi-local ring. Because here you have used this completion, inverse limit and so on. No? So that is where we have used completeness. All right, so that was Ensel's lemma. Now, therefore, we are coming back to the proof of existence of the coefficient. And that I will use it, I will prove it first now when the characteristic of the residue field is 0. And when, see, there are two possibilities in EP characteristic. Characteristic of the residue field is 0 or characteristic of the residue field is P. Characteristic of residue field is 0, then the characteristic of ring is also 0 because we are in equicharacteristic case. Similarly, if the characteristic of the field is, residue field is P, then the characteristic of the original local ring is also P because we are in a equicharacteristic case. Now, I want to complete the proof of the existence of the coefficient field when characteristic of the residue field is 0. All right. So start with a complete local ring. K is the residue field and pi is the residue, canonical residue class homomorphism. And suppose characteristic of K is 0, then what are we looking for? We are looking for a subfield of K so that when I restrict this pi map to that K, it is an isomorphism of fields. That is what we are looking for. And who is a likely candidate? So, likely candidate would be a maximal subfield of K, if it exists. And we have to, so that is a likely candidate. Okay, so then what is the statement I am proving? For every maximal subfield, we will justify why such a maximal subfield exists. For every maximal subfield K of A, we have this A, this map, this maximal subfield is a direct amount of A as a module. Equivalently, this direct sum is equivalent to saying that if I take the image of pi k in this, it is K. Because the map is injective and this pi k equal to Ka says that this map restricted to capital K is surjective and therefore it has to be an isomorphism. And that will mean that capital K is the coefficient field of A. So in this proof, also one notes that the coefficient field is not unique. There are many coefficient fields because the maximal subfields may be more. In fact, one can explicitly write down, if you know one, you can write down others. All right. So that is what we have to prove, that we have to prove that if you take a maximal subfield K of A, then this map pi restricted to that K is surjective. That is what we want. And that will finish the problem. All right. So let us prove it. So characteristic is 0 of the residue field. Therefore, characteristic of the ring is 0. And hence, A will contain definitely some field. That is what we have noted is the equicharacteristic case. And in this case, you look at the set of all subfields of A which contain this given K, small k. And it is easy to check that this family of subfields which contain small k is an inductively ordered family. And therefore, inductively ordered with respect to the natural integers. And therefore, we can apply Zorn's lemma, and by that we can conclude this will contain a maximal element, and that is the maximal subfield. So exist. So therefore, we need to prove that pi is a surjective map on K, capital K. That means capital of pi K equal to K suffix capital A. So suppose there are two cases. Suppose they are not equal. Then this is a proper subfield of the residue field. And then you choose, because it's a proper subfield, and we are looking for a contradiction now. You choose an element which is in Ka but not in pi K. Now, for such an element, there are two cases. One is it is transcendental over pi K, and the other is it is algebraic. I have written case 2. It is algebraic over pi K. So let us look at the first case. Pi is transcendental. So where is y? Y is in pi K. So remember, pi is this map. So y is an element here, and then you are taking the fiber over that y. That is a lot of elements in this capital. So now I pick up one element t in that, arbitrary. That means t is mapped under pi to y. So here I have written here t goes to y. Then look at pi of ft. But pi is a ring homomorphism. So pi and f will commute. So f of pi t. This is f of y. And f of y cannot be 0 for any polynomial. Any non-zero polynomial, this cannot be 0. Because we are assuming y is transcendent. So for every non-zero f in kx, this fy is non-zero. Because this y is transcendental over this, and this is an element in this field. So that means what? That means pi of this ft is non-zero. But where is ft? T was an element in A, and F was a polynomial in that capital K. So this is also some element in A. And pi of that is non-zero. That means it's a unit. Because we are in a local. All right. So this is a unit for every t, for every non-zero f. In particular, this capital K will be contained in the rational function field in T. This is a rational function field over K in T. But this is a contradiction because K is maximal subfield contained in A, which contain that given small k. But this is bigger field and this T is not here. Therefore, this is a contradiction. So pi to y cannot be transcendental. Is it okay, or ask somebody? You want to ask somebody want to ask any question on this? Very simple it is. All right. So case 2, Y is algebraic over pi k. This is the case left. In this case, since the characteristic is 0, Y is separable algebraic. And separable algebraic means minimal polynomial of Y over pi k, monic minimal polynomial of Y over pi k. Y will be 0 of that, and it will be simple 0. Now, Wenzer's lemma says I can lift the simple factors. So, by corollary, the classical Wenzer's lemma, I can find f monic, and this Y will be 0 of that monic polynomial. So that means there exists x here, which is a lifting of this Y. That means x belongs to pi inverse Y, and f of x is 0. This is Wenzer's lemma. That's what we proved it before. And now look at this. A contains this subalgebra generated by x over k, because x is there, k is there. But this subalgebra, this x is algebraic over k with the minimal polynomial f. Not minimal polynomial f, but this f goes to 0 under substitution of because f of x is 0. Therefore, this map, we have this map. Question is, but what is this one? This pi k is pi kx and mod this minimal polynomial. So this f corresponds to this f bar. This is an isomorphism. Because pi k is isomorphic to k. This is contained in this, and we have lifted this. We have just called this polynomial mu I correspond to this f and so on. So therefore, this is a subfield of A. This is now, because x is algebraic, this is a subfield, and that contains k properly because x is not in k. And therefore, this contradicts the maximality of capital K. And therefore, pi k has to be the whole k suffix A. So we proved this claim, and everything is proved. So that means we proved that coefficient field exists when the residue field has characteristic 0. Can I go on? Yes, please. Oh, that was the last slide. So now still we have not finished the proof. Let me still go back and recall you what we wanted. So we were in equicharacteristic case, and I was trying to prove this one. And I have proved one only in the case when the residue field has characteristic 0. Only in this case I have proved it. Only in the first case I have proved capital K exists. Now when the characteristic is P, I have to find a different argument because this argument doesn't work there. Can somebody pinpoint to me where we are using characteristic of the residue field is 0? Yes, please. Anybody who can answer? Purnashri.
Separability part.
But the characteristic P is also, then what? What goes wrong? Characteristic P field, characteristic P. Separability will not be there, no? Do you?
Yes, sir. At the last part, the algebraic.
But I could have argued like that. What goes wrong in this? Suppose that small k, which A contains a field anyway because it's equicharacteristic case, I could choose that small k to be prime field. Then then what will happen? Can I not do that? See, how did I choose this capital K here? First of all, I use the fact that this ring contains a field, right? Equicharacteristic, so it contains a field small k. And I took all bigger fields than k, which are contained in A, and took the maximum element. Now, supposing this small k was a perfect field, then what will be wrong in my further argument? Yes? Anybody else? Nikhilesh?
Yes, sir. I'm thinking, sir.
Are you hearing us?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So you know my question. Why this proof will not work for characteristic of the residue field is P positive?
Yes.
Anybody want to answer? If it was fast, you can still, we have a couple of, some minutes are there. You can ask me to explain something which is earlier we have done. Here, it will not work. Monashri, it will not work because even though small k is perfect, when you enlarge this field to the maximal one,
Yes.
there is no guarantee that bigger field is again perfect.
Okay.
And therefore, this separability, we are taking over that capital K. So, you know, even if you have a Z mod P and you take the bigger field, that is not necessarily perfect.
Okay.
Therefore, this argument will not work. So, you have to find a better technique. Right? I have to bring in now bigger machinery in the next lecture. This machinery is not good enough to tackle this problem. And so that big machinery is called formal smoothness, which is connected to smoothness, which is connected to Jacobian criterion, which is connected to many other things, and which is in its own right, it is a big field to study. So that I am going to introduce in the next lecture.